done about 15 this month so far with 9 days in. Plus we did 20k 48-hour window, 20k 48-hour window price. We're getting booked out nearly a full week in advance, at least 72 hours in advance.
What is your return on ad spend at the moment?
Normally we get probably at least a 300% return on most months for ad spend. So if we we probably take in 40, 50k of new money most months, and we're probably spending about on between 5 and 10k on ads, something like that. I mean, it went from being like an 18% close rate to 70% or something off the top. I can't remember the number off the top of my head, but it was in that ballpark. Show up rate went from, it must have been low, like 30%, maybe up to 50%, 60% in that month, which for me was insane, mate, because it was pretty much the same offer. And all we did was we made it better, more suited to the target market. We added a few more bells and whistles, which made the program seem a lot better, but wasn't a lot of extra expense. If I get them to show up, I know that there's probably a 60% chance they're going to close. I mean, I think it's been quality from the get-go. I think I'll always stay on, because even just how you've taught me how to work with AI, ChatGPT, to make things sound like me. So you guys have obviously do a lot of help in terms of these are the type of messages you should be sending this month. The offer makes sense, the whole nurture sequence makes sense, the ads are making sense.
Okay, so today we have Oren McCarty. We've been working together for probably 4 months, something along those lines, I would say.
4 months, yeah.
I'll hand it over to you for a second. Just introduce yourself and who you work with, and we'll take it from there.
Yeah, as people might see from the wallpaper and the t-shirt, I work with executives. I've been doing so for about 5 years, predominantly just with LinkedIn, and I've very success over the years. And it's been, I will tell the story soon, but like it's been a bit of ups and downs, depending on the time of year and different things going on. And that's essentially what happened, why I came into the ecosystem, was the back end of last year, and haven't looked back since.
Yeah, so we were just talking before we jumped on, and we actually got in contact through one of the LinkedIn systems that we give to coaches. We ended up reaching out to you, and we ended up on a call, and then from there we joined. So what were you actually struggling with when you joined us?
So I've been through numerous mentorships over the years. Probably at that moment in time, I think it was like early December when you connected, which now I know was part of the system, which you obviously teach everyone. Something about the way you were coming across, the types of messages, maybe the fact you're Irish as well, mate, got me over the first hurdle of accepting it. Normally anything that comes my way on LinkedIn that's clearly going to be marketing or some sort of pitch, I just ding it off. But it came across as really original and also was persistent enough that even though I was having a really tough month in December, basically the back end, I don't know whether it was the offer I had or how I was presenting it. So I was kind of at that point of despair, not despair. I still had a lot of people who were clients who were getting renewal offers, obviously slightly discounted rates or whatever, just come on for another 6 months or a year. But pretty much all of our income in December was from renewals. And when you guys reached out, mate, I remember thinking, to be honest, okay, I love having a business mentor in my corner. I think it always pushes you. You always learn as much as you can from somebody and take the systems and tweak them. But I remember thinking, I don't know if I can even afford to have one the way those 2 months have went. And that's pretty much where I was at. I was at a point of despair from people who liked the product to an extent, but not enough to sign up right now because Christmas was coming, because summer holidays was coming. And it was, I'll talk to you in January or February.
So I'm curious on that then, what flipped for you, where you're like, I'm not even sure if I can afford to have someone in my corner here, but what actually changed where you did end up taking the leap and joining us?
I think it jumped on the call me, and there was lots of synergies. Obviously, I liked you as a person. I spoke with Gilbert, who also coached executives, and he was like, "Oh, mate, like we're very similar in terms of what we do. We coach high-end people. He coaches high ticket. Essentially, he doesn't need to be executives. He coaches high ticket." And he's like, "Mate, there's something going wrong with your offer here. Something is not right, like with the offer." And whether it was how I was presenting it, whether it was the price point, whether it was how we packaged everything up, it just wasn't making sense. And he was like, "Yeah, I can change this for you." Like, we were in the same market. We sell high ticket. Like, you're selling high ticket to high level people. They clearly like you enough to jump on the call, and they like it enough to entertain you, but they're just not grabbing it. So we changed a few things. I remember that probably the first 3 weeks is where I literally just went down a rabbit hole of as much training as I could, like the full document that was provided in terms of everything was a game changer for me. But in terms of why I actually signed up after what was probably a more stressful month than others, It was probably just the way it was laid out, mate. Like I even remember thinking like there was no just here's the price point. It was like very casual, like easy pitch. Listen, if this works for you, here's the price. I get access to everything that these guys are talking about. That's a no-brainer for me because it just was easy. If it's easier for cash flow, mate, done. It was a very easy, like nonchalant sort of pitch. As if, listen, it doesn't matter to us if you want to do this, but we're here to help if you are. Like, let's break it down as much as you need to. And that alone probably was the moment where once I knew I liked the system, I liked Gilbert, I liked you, obviously, from everything we'd seen. I was like, okay, if this price makes sense, I'm going to do it. And the price made sense for the way it was presented to me.
Very few, probably the majority of all of our calls don't even make it to the point of going through everything because we have to be so confident that we can actually help the person because we put our own skin in the game. We put our own money on the line when we take somebody in and we put this big guarantee in place. And if we're wrong, well, we're the ones to lose out, right? That's why we can give these no risk guarantees to coaches, but we know with confidence that we can actually help someone. And from where you were then to where we are now, there's a couple of big numbers that I seen you posting about in the community, which was close rate and show rate. So I think your close rate doubled, your show up rate went up by about 1.5x. What did you do to make that happen? What did you take from the program? What did you actually implement there?
Yeah, so I think there was a lot in terms of the whole document. I mean, like I still have it as a standard pop-up on the Safari browser. Like it's always there. Like the game plan essentially, like work through these trainings, and it was very clear of these are the ones that are most priority because we need to update the offer or we need to work out how to add value in. And it was very clear that you watch this training, you do this training, you do this training, and then that's your offer essentially made ready to go. Obviously, I consulted with the group and Gilbert and everyone else about putting that in place and does this fit and should I do this or should I do that? And then what was the next stage? And it was always like there was somebody always there. I'm not really sure, should I do this bit, like in terms of making money now or money later, or these automation sequences or this sort of organic outreach? What's the next point? And there was always somebody there to say, well, you've done that bit, like the next most important thing based on where you are now is probably to do this and this, and then maybe move on to that. And it was all in the document, but I guess having somebody there to be like, I finished that, but I want to make sure I'm using my time as wisely as possible. What is going to be the biggest bang for your buck? And somebody used to be like, just watch those bits, do that bit, and let me know when you're done. It was just pretty easy in that sense, me how it was laid out.
Pretty straightforward. And in terms of money now, I mean, that first month you cash collected, was it 45 grand and contracted 55, something along those lines?
Something like that. I mean, it went from being like an 18% close rate to 70% or something off the top. I can't remember the number off the top of my head, but it was in that ballpark. Show up rate went from, it must have been low, like 30%, maybe up to 50%, 60% in that month, which for me was insane, mate, because it was pretty much the same offer. And all we did was we made it better and more suited to the target market. We added a few more bells and whistles, which made the program seem a lot better, but wasn't a lot of extra expense. And we just changed the language around a lot with how we explain what we do. Because I was explaining it, mate, and I told you this at the start. Like I previously used a slide deck, and the previous, I guess, the different mentorships I've been in was all about every so often you get some feedback on how we can improve the slide deck and how we can nail this. And then I went away from that, mate. I decided let's use it on an iPad and let's draw it all out with what they're going to get and make it seem like you're doing a lot, even though it was templated, but I was just filling in boxes. And it just didn't, it worked for a lot of people, but it didn't work like this, mate. And then since then, mate, honestly, like the feedback is always on every call. If I get them to show up, I know that there's probably a 60% chance they're going to close. And if not, it's simply where they're honest. They're like, yeah, it's more expensive than what I want to pay, or the timing's just not off. And to be honest, mate, one of the big things that Gilbert got home at the start was like, but you're not qualifying them enough on that call. Like I had a great dialer in place who was phoning to book people in for the sales call, but the system was just get them in on the call and ready to sign up. Whereas now we got a system where we're working out their needs, we're working out if we can help them on a short, like 5-6 minute call, no extra time, but we're actually being upfront and honest about the price, saying, listen, the prices range anywhere between $500 $800 a month if you were to go, if you like what we present, is that in your budget? And we're literally getting people saying no. And I'm actually celebrating that, mate, because then it means I'm not wasting an hour on the call by spending 2 minutes and asking that question when we do contact them.
Yeah, and hence your close rate goes up, your show rate goes up, you've better quality clients, you've better quality leads, everything just gets better. What is your paid upfront option now, if you don't mind sharing?
Yeah, so it's 5K Aussie dollars for 6 months, if they pay in full. It goes up to 6K if they're split into multiple payments. And that is for the whole works, being training, nutrition, data tracking, all the bells and whistles to make them their sort of best at work and then physically as well.
What is next for you? Because your ads are crushing now. What is your return on ad spend at the moment?
Normally we get probably at least a 300% return on most months for ad spend. Excuse me, considering that we don't have much recurring revenue, like when we do a 40, 50K a month, that means that 10 clients have signed up at 5K because it's very low. We don't have a recurring model out of choice. So if we we probably take in 40, 50K of new money most months, and we're probably spending about on between 5 and 10K on ads, depending. So you do the math there, maybe you're talking 4 or 5 times return if everything lines up and we keep doing those size months, obviously.
And that you've kept that consistent though for the last 4 months.
It has been.
So
Yeah, we had one blip, I think last month was a little bit lower, but it was still around 35, 37, somewhere around that mark. And we started this month, I think we've done about 15 this month so far with 9 days in. Plus we did 20K 48-hour window, 20K 48-hour window. Yeah, it was I that's what I sent you a screenshot of me. I was like, this is how we're starting the month, but it's too big paid, I don't know.
yeah, so every month consistently leads are coming in. The cost of leads is definitely acceptable in terms of who the type of people that you're getting, the show up rates, the close rates, and you're profiting 30, 40 grand every single month just off of your ad spend alone, not considering any other expenses. So
Yeah.
again, like what is next here? Like where do you go from here? How do you see the company growing from here? Because you have a system in place now that is just printing money and it's consistent. So what's next?
I want to break some barriers, mate. I think the most I've ever earned in a month was around the 52K mark. Like that's the most ever. And that was probably because I was selling to America. So when I pitched them 5K, I got 7.5K Aussie out of that, right? So it's the same pitch, but I got more money. So probably to get back to those numbers, but do it more consistently. Like the reason why we had a poor March, like at 35, was because I was transitioning from a part-time dialer who was doing 2 hours per day every day, 2 hours in the morning, 2 hours in the afternoon, to now a full-time dialer. We've hired somebody, we trained them up so they can be in there 8 hours a day, which should increase the amount of calls booked. We're pre-qualifying those guys a bit better. So now we're just starting to see the past week or so the rewards of that, where we're getting 3-4 appointments booked most days for this week. We're getting booked out nearly a full week in advance, at least 72 hours in advance for those days, the slots we have available. And if that continues the way it is, mate, where we get the quality leads coming in, she's catching them early enough in the system because she's in there full time. She can phone them back straight away. She can phone them within 10 to 15 minutes of them booking putting an inquiry form in. That then increases the show up rate, in my opinion, because they are getting dealt with fast and these guys are efficient. The sales presentation going well. If we get all that going as smooth as it has been and it's showing a promise to me, like we spoke before about where's the ceiling on that? I mean, I want to break past the 50, but then like to hit our million per year target, we have to get to what is like 83, 84K per month. And that's in it. Just the goal will be for April to chip away and hit that something in the 50 mark. And then that's not going to be enough. Let's go from there because that's just the way I'm minded, me. And it's like the dopamine hit of a sale or a good month doesn't last long because you're only as good as your last month or your last sale. And that's eventually going to wear off. So I'm like, we have to set a bigger target. We got to keep growing and we got to keep pushing on.
You're in a position now where I put in X, I get out Y. So it's now time to just put in 2X and just start doubling down on the front end of that system. I also have another automation that we're nearly finished working or building, which I think is going to be perfect for you because we have built it now to where when a lead gets generated for you from LinkedIn, our system will actually call your phone or your setter's phone at 2 minutes after it gets generated. You'll press a button on your phone, you press the number 2, for example, and then that will connect with the lead's phone. So now the two people connect at one time. So your setter or yourself is literally on the phone with the lead that just put their piece through. So that's coming soon. So I think that'll be a good one for you, especially if you start to ramp up the amount of leads you're generating. So that's probably one of the next things for you. And we're just speaking about AI ads, which we're testing at the moment, not with yourself, but we are testing AI ads at the moment on LinkedIn and they're going pretty well. So I think there's a couple of things in the pipeline for you as well with the direction you're going. I want to ask you one final question because you've been through, like you said, a couple of different service providers or mentorships or programs or courses or whatever you want to call it. I like to think we're a bit different, but that's just my own bias. But how would you wrap up what we actually do if you were to describe it to someone else? Like what are your kind of key takeaways from this?
Yeah, I think it's been quality from the get-go, and it's been different. And whether some people might think that's less or more. I know you guys are always there if I need to, but previously I've relied on keeping at the business mentor in terms of give me feedback on this. What can I try? Let me do this. With what we probably set up from when I signed up, it was right before Christmas. Through that, then the break, I was doing a little bit, but essentially from January, we got going. From January on, man, it was like 4 to 5 weeks of nailing as much as we could in a short period. And to be honest with you, I've just sat back and been like, yeah, I'll reach out to yourself or Gilbert or Gabby in the chats in terms of when I need something. But I haven't really needed a lot because the quality of the first document, like I mentioned, these are the steps. This is what we think is going to provide the most bang for your buck. I executed on that very fast. And now it's like I'm reaping the rewards of that, mate. I know when somebody's there, but actually not needing them is refreshing. When I previously had business mentors where the only reason I got to say 50K a month targeting the American audience was by having a call in the diary with my coaching mentor every week and like being really on it and trying to get as efficient as possible. The offer makes sense. The whole nurture sequence makes sense. The ads are making sense. I know that if I'm struggling with an ad or I'm like, mate, I've got low lead flow, I can just flick yourself and Gilbert a message and be like, what's working now? What are you guys trying? Trying AI images, right? Cool. What does that look like? How do I do that? And I get that feedback and see like if I'm like, this is pumping for me. You guys should maybe try this. Like it's a collaborative effort and knowing that you guys are there, but not really needing you guys there because the hard work's already been done is pretty cool. I was thinking about this the other day. I was talking to Gabby. I was like, what happens after the 6 months? And she explained. I was like, okay, I think I'll always stay on because even just how you've taught me how to work with AI, ChatGPT to make things sound like me. So you guys obviously do a lot of help in terms of these are the type of messages you should be sending this month for April because January's worn off and you give the theme for the month in terms of how to push sales and how you should be marketing. Even just me being able to come in and have content ready for the month where it's like, here's a few texts, here's a few emails, here's a few post snippets or story ideas or different things. That's valuable as well, mate. It's like it's a no-brainer to stay on after the 6 months as well.
Yeah, we're getting a lot of really positive feedback about that. We brought that in January. So what we do now for anyone listening is every single month there is an entire game plan for the month upcoming. So you have your social posts, you have your graphics, you have your emails, you have how to sell that month, what objections you're probably going to hit, how to keep your current clients that month, how to speak to your current clients that month. So you just have this entire pack for the month upcoming. So that is just added on to what is currently there. Plus, like I said, the amount of new stuff that keeps coming up that we are on top on in terms of AI and automations, there's so much more to be added here. So it's exciting to see where things go. We've just built out an AI appointment setter. I don't know if you've seen the post on that yet, but you need to.
I've seen the post. I'm waiting for more information.
Yeah, I'll tell you about it after the call. You need to run through it and see because eventually it will be something that we're able to plug into LinkedIn. At this point in time, not right now, but it's very close as well. So it's going to be very, I think the like coaching industry is going to be very different in a couple of months, never mind a couple of years. Everything's starting to change now. So yeah, it's the people that are out in front of it that'll survive and actually thrive. I think it's just going to make the gap even bigger, I think. So I think it's the people that are on top of it now will win. So I think we'll leave it there. I appreciate you jumping on. Thanks for giving us the feedback and
my friend.
I'm excited to see where we go from here.
Brilliant, mate. Brilliant.